What if I told you you could become the ultimate support player while outputting a ton of DPS? Well, the build we're looking at today can do just that. We have a ton of survivability in the neutral game, and when it comes to those DPS phases, oh boy, you can use your super every 16 seconds. Let's get right on into it. Now, first things first, most bosses that you come across, you'll want to have a well for both extra damage and survivability. And this is huge for supporting you and your team. But the even greater thing is that because we're getting our Well of Radiance back every 16 seconds, we'll always have that healing and extra damage. But we'll also keep creating 3 orbs for our team. That way, everyone else can keep popping their supers for more damage. And the main fuel for getting our super back that quick is our exotic weapon of choice, Hierarchy of Needs. Now, I know some of you will say Outbreak is better. However, in my testing, I was getting my super back about twice as fast with Hierarchy. Now, this does come at a pretty big caveat. You need the Catalyst for Hierarchy, and that's because with the Catalyst, you gain 100 reload speed, but more importantly, you gain 2 times the draw speed. So with the Catalyst, you'll literally fire at twice the speed, and this bow gives back so much super energy because of its guidance rings. With these rings, any arrow that passes through them will create another 3 projectiles that deal decent damage, but all of these projectiles will really help to fuel your super. And the even better part is that, like Outbreak, the more people you have using Hierarchy, the better. And that's because your arrow will create more projectiles for each ring that it passes through, meaning that if you just have 2 other people using Hierarchy, your 1 arrow becomes 10 total projectiles, massively increasing your super gains. But of course, we don't want to just fuel our team. No. We want to be high up on that leaderboard as well. And that's why we're taking the exotic chess piece, Sanguine Alchemy. And this is going to make it so that standing in a Well of Radiance or a Rift, you'll gain ×4 super matching weapon surge. So in our case, that'll be solar weapon surge, which is more than mods can provide. But the even better part is that when we damage an enemy, they become marked. And these marked enemies will take another 10% stacking damage. And this is huge because if you have a boss that has a really short damage window, you can easily use Lord of Wolves as your weapon of choice to absolutely fry. So we have incredible super gains and a ton of weapon damage. But there's so much more to this build, so let's dive on in and break down how it works. But Guardians, before we do, I have some exciting news. I've once again partnered with Apex Gaming PCs, and this time, we're running a giveaway. The team over at Apex Gaming PCs builds some of the best PCs. No matter if you're looking for top-of-the-line custom-built PCs, or just getting your feet wet with an entry-level PC, they've got you covered. Right now, they're running a contest to give away a $5,000 PC. All you have to do is click the link in the description or the pinned comment. The giveaway ends on August 31st, so make sure to sign up before then. Alright, let's jump right back into the video. For the super, as we mentioned, we want to bring Well of Radiance. That way we can easily proc that ×4 weapon surge and support our team with both more weapon damage and healing. And for the class ability, I opted for the Healing Rift. In the update coming with Ash and Iron, I might test out Empowering Rift since it is getting a pretty major rework. Before that melee, I went with Incinerator Snap, mainly because if we hit all of our bolts, then we'll cause an ignition, which is really nice for ad clearing. And as for the grenade, I'm bringing the Healing Grenade. You can swap this out for another grenade if you want more damage in the DPS phase, but I find the Healing Grenade to be huge for those ad clearing portions and a major key for survivability. And that's because of our first aspect, Touch of Flame. This aspect buffs our solar grenades. Most get more damage, but our Healing Grenade now provides more instant health and restoration ×2. And this really amps up our survivability in those ad clearing sections, since we will continuously have more healing. I then love pairing this with the aspect Helion, and this makes it so that whenever you use your class ability, you'll create a solar buddy at your side. And this buddy launches mortars at enemies that deal damage and scorch them. And this adds in more passive damage and even more ignitions. If you really want to, then you could opt to swap this out for Icarus Dash, since it does feel really nice with the movement. But because I bring Helion, the first fragment that I really like to bring is Ember of Ashes. That way, all sources of Scorch will apply more stacks of Scorch. And this now makes it so that our solar buddy will cause an ignition every 3rd shot instead of every 4th shot, adding in even more passive damage in those DPS phases. The second fragment I'm taking is Ember of Singeing. That way, as our solar buddy scorches enemies, we gain increased class ability regeneration speed, making it incredibly easy to keep popping a rift for more weapon damage and solar buddies. And next I bring Ember of Benevolence. That way, anytime a teammate passes through our rift, we heal them with our Healing Grenade or even a heal clip weapon, we gain 300% increased ability regeneration speed for all of our abilities. And this is huge if you do want to swap to a speaker sight build build for the ad clearing portion, allowing you to spam those healing turrets. And finally, I like to bring Ember of Empyrean. That way we can proc our restoration ×2 from our healing grenade and use our solar weapons and abilities to extend its duration by getting kills. And if you want to extend your duration here by hitting that subscribe button, it'd be much appreciated. God, what am I even saying anymore? Anyways, let's get right back to the video. So what does this look like in action? Well, we have two cycles that we need to talk about, the DPS phases and the ad clearing phases. First up, the main component, those DPS phases. Now for the most part, it's pretty simple. I like to start by popping my rift right before DPS starts. That way I can proc my solar buddy. Then immediately pop your well. And if you have a solar heavy that you can deal some burst damage, then I like to start by using that. The new grenade launcher, Outrageous Fortune with Temporal Blast, deals a ton of burst damage. Then you can swap over to Hierarchy and keep spamming those hipfire shots. This will keep those rings active and massively increase your super gains. So every time you get back your well, pop it again to create more orbs for your team. Now when it comes to the ad clearing portion, you absolutely can keep running this same setup. However, I love a hot swap to a speaker sight build. That way I can help with my team's overall survivability. You can also opt to have a different primary weapon like the Yeartide Apex, which can roll with heal clip, which can help you spam those healing turrets by proccing Ember of Benevolence. Otherwise, you want to throw your grenades to proc that restoration ×2, and then pop your rift to create that solar buddy. Keep killing with your solar weapons and solar buddy to extend that restoration, keeping you nice and healthy. So let's talk about ways to improve the build. First up, our stats. Now the most important thing is to make sure that you have your super stat at 100. Any more is pretty much a waste, but at 100 we gain back the most amount of super energy, which helps fund our teammates' supers for DPS. Then I like to aim for 200 in our weapon stat to get the most out of our DPS weapons. And with primary and special weapons, that means we can now deal 15% more damage against bosses, and we get another 10% damage against bosses with our heavy weapons. And when it comes to the armor mods, for the helmet mods, first I like to take a Harmonic Siphon to help create a ton of orbs by getting rapid kills with our solar weapons. Then I like to bring 2 super font mods. That way, while we have armor charge, we gain +40 to our super stat, allowing us to pour our stats into other areas for more benefit. And when it comes to the gauntlet mods, I really like to take 2 grenade font mods. Ideally, you want to be at 100 grenade stat, and this makes it a lot easier to reach that mark for more healing grenades. You can also opt for a harmonic loader mod, especially if you are running Lord of Wolves. However, this becomes irrelevant if you're using Hierarchy, since its catalyst will negate it. And for the chest mods, like with most content, I'm opting for 3 resistance mods. I like to match these to the activity that I'm running. Usually, I like to bring 2 elemental resistance like Arc and Solar. Then I bring a concussive dampener to take less AoE damage. And for the leg mods, since our exotic will be providing ×4 weapon surge, I like to bring 2 weapon font mods to give us +40 to our weapon stat, making it a lot easier to reach that 200 mark for the most amount of damage possible. Then I like to bring a copy of Innervation. That way we gain back a bit of grenade energy by collecting orbs, and this helps to spam those healing grenades and stay healthy. For the class mods, I first like to bring a class font mod. That way we gain +20 to our class stat for even more solar buddies. And I then like to bring Powerful Attraction to help pick up any nearby orbs whenever we use our class ability. And finally, I bring Time Dilation. That way each armor charge will last for 15 seconds to ensure we have the most uptime on our boosted stats. And when it comes to the artifact, thankfully we do have some perks that boost our solar builds. First, we have Elemental Benevolence. Now whenever our healing grenade or well hits a teammate, you'll gain back 15% of your class ability, allowing for even more solar buddies. And I also like to bring Fever and Chill. That way precision hits with our solar weapons will make us radiant for more weapon damage, which can easily be extended by Ember of Empyrean. Then you can take Elemental Coalescence, which will create fire sprites by getting kills, and then pair that with Refreshing Threads, so that whenever you do pick up those fire sprites, you'll also gain back ability energy to your least charged ability. You can also take Shoulder to Shoulder, so that while you're dealing with that precision damage near allies, you'll gain another 25% damage resistance. But you'll also want to bring Radiant Shrapnel. That way, weapon damage while radiant will create solar shrapnel that will seek out enemies, damaging and scorching them. And this just leads to more overall damage in those DPS phases. Then you could also take Shield Crush, mainly so that while you're radiant, your grenades recharge quicker. And when it comes to weapons, for the first slot, I mainly like to use this as a utility slot. The new rocket assisted pulse rifle is really strong for taking out a ton of enemies or even bursting down mini bosses. And when it comes to that energy slot, for those DPS phases, you 100% want to bring Hierarchy of Needs for its incredible super gains. And this will allow you to hot swap to another solar primary like Yeartide Apex, so that you can use whatever solar primary you want in those ad clearing sections. But alternatively, you could opt for something like Lord of Wolves if you want some close range burst damage on those bosses. And for the heavy slot, there's one main option that I really have to give a shout out to. The new rapid fire grenade launcher, Outrageous Fortune, can get some really good perks like Envious Arsenal and Bait and Switch for a ton of damage, but it's also a featured weapon, meaning it can use the Temporal Blast mod to create extra explosions that deal a ton of damage, and it has the Hake Breach armaments, which allows you to deal another 15% damage to constructs, like the final boss of the new Desert Perpetual raid. Not to mention that it's also a solar weapon, pairing perfectly with our ×4 solar weapon surge from our exotic. I mean, this thing is an absolute monster this season. This build is one of my favorite raid builds since we can provide our team with a ton of benefit while still putting out a ton of damage. But if you want to see a Titan build that does a metric ton of damage to bosses, then go check out this video here. But remember, mastering this build is only the beginning. Experiment with different combinations and tweak your loadout to suit your playstyle. If you found this video helpful or just enjoyed seeing a new perspective, feel free to like the video and comment down below on what you might change or how you'd improve the Sanguine Warlock build. Keep an eye out for future videos as we continue to explore the ever-evolving world of Destiny 2. Until then, may the threads of fate be ever in your favor. This is Lucky Mech signing off. See you on the next adventure, Guardians.